HelpSpot provides us with several tools to automate different actions inside of HelpSpot. You can use triggers, automation rules, or mail rules, all to achieve different types of automatic actions. In this case, today we're going to be looking at the triggers tool. You can find it in the admin area under triggers and rules, and then select the triggers option. What a trigger is going to do is it's going to watch for a request being either updated or created with a certain set of criteria. Let's go ahead and build out an example of this to flesh out what this is actually going to look like. All right, so in this case, I want to build a trigger to notify our server administrator whenever a issue is moved into the server category. So we'll call this our server trigger. And then the first option that I get here when I'm adding a trigger is whether I want it to run when a request is updated or when the request is created. In this case, I want it to run when a request is moved into that server category. So this is going to be a request update. I can also choose to match on either all of my criteria or any of my criteria. So basically what this is doing is either creating AND statements or statements behind the scenes. In this case, I want it to match all of the criteria that I'm going to specify below. All right, so I have my first criteria here already created for me. It's just checking to see if the request is open. So that sounds like a good place to start, but I need to add another criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this green plus sign to add another condition. And I'm going to choose the category condition. Now I get several options here now that I've selected the category field. I can choose the operator that I want to use to check this criteria against. In this case, I want to check if the category is changed to server. Now the reason I'm choosing the change to criteria is that I don't want this to run every time a request is updated that is in the server category. I just want it to run when the category is moved to or changed to that server category. All right, now I get to choose what action I want to perform. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to notify a staff member. So I'm going to send an email notification, and I'm going to choose our server administrator here. And now I get several options. First, I can specify a subject. So I'm just going to say new server issue. And then I can start building out what I want the contents of the email to be. Now I can include placeholders in here to include pertinent information from the request for this email recipient. So let's say maybe the customer's name is important. So I can insert a placeholder here, and I can scroll through here and find the customer first name, and then the customer last name, and insert that. Now, it might also be important to have the customer's phone number to contact them. So I'm building this all out using placeholders, and you can see that I'm using this placeholder picker to select the items that I need. Now remember that even custom fields are going to be included as placeholders. So if you're storing custom information, like maybe I had a custom field about which server this issue was regarding, I could insert that right into this email as well. Now I have a couple more options that I can select before I add this trigger. First, I can choose when this trigger is going to run. I can choose to have the trigger in effect at all times, or I can have it only run during business hours or outside of business hours only. And the business hours are specified elsewhere inside of the settings area of HelpSpot. I can also choose whether I want to have this trigger log the runs in the request history. Usually you'll want this to stay on so that you have a clear record of what triggers have run. However, if you're doing something like maybe sending a webhook, you might want to turn this off because you want the action to be transparent to your staff users. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add this trigger now. And I'll just get a quick warning confirming that this trigger is going to take effect immediately. All right, so my new trigger has now been added, and now whenever a request is changed to that server category, that notification is going to be sent out. If I ever need to modify this trigger, I can simply click on it to start editing it. If I need to make the trigger inactive, I can use the red button here at the bottom to do that as well. So that's a quick overview of setting up triggers inside of HelpSpot.